Hello friends, welcome to the It's a Guitar YouTube channel. Slightly more casual video today, drink in hand. I want to talk about the highlights of 2024 because it is January 1st, 2025 as of filming right now. And man, my goodness, 2024 year was a crazy year. There's so much that took place, so many great amps purchased, so many great amps worked on, so many gigs. Just amazing stuff took place in 2024. So I thought we would just do a video highlighting some of the top elements of it all. And we'll start with top gear acquisitions. So 2024 saw a few amps leave, bunch of new amps come in. There's some other stuff I got rid of in 2024 as well that weren't amp related. Maybe I'll talk about some of those. But yeah, really, 2024 was a year of alignment for me towards what I really want, which is historic vintage amps. That's just the thing that really interests me. I didn't purchase any guitars. I didn't dabble with anything like that. A couple pedals here and there, but really amps were my main focus in 2024. And it was a banner year. Let's be honest, guys. I mean, look behind me. Not all of it's mine, to be fair, but most of it is. And there's some incredible stuff behind me. Right here, look at this. Tweed Bassman, 1959. I never thought I would own one of those. I wanted to, desperately. I thought of many ways how I could buy one, and I tried trading into one a couple times. Met some cool people actually from that became friends later on. But yeah, I own a Tweed Bassman purchased in 2024. Incredible. I will never ever forget that. I did a whole video series on the amp. Obviously, a bunch of videos of me playing the amp. I'll put all of the kind of videos I reference in the description, also probably in the corner as well if you're curious about it. But 1959 5F6A, the Holy Grail, most people would consider it that. I certainly held it to a very high standard. It was up on the pedestal for me for sure. And I can confirm for you guys, it absolutely holds up. It is honestly different than I expected it to be. I didn't really know what to expect because the 410, I've got a super reverb, but obviously I know it's not like that. I didn't really know what it was going to be. It is its own thing. It is an incredible amp. It is powerful. It is gritty. It surprised me how well it cleans up. It's just an amazing amp. Highly recommend one of them if you ever get a chance. But the reissue is actually great too. I've played a couple of the 59 reissues. They're all awesome amps as far as sound is concerned. But I want the real thing. So again, 2024 was a year of alignment for me. I want the real thing. I'm okay with the inconvenience. I'm not going to take the easy route. I could go the modeler route. I could do, all of that. Instead, I kind of went the opposite direction. I sold a Quad Cortex in 2024. That was the last digital unit I had. So I had a Helix, I had a Kemper, I had an FM9 in the past, Fractal, and the Quad Cortex was the last one I had as kind of a backup or for, direct gigs or whatever. Sold that, get out of here. We're going all analog here and embracing the quirk of the old amps. And there's a lot of quirk for sure. But yeah, so that's a highlight. Another highlight is the amp over my shoulder here. That is a Vox AC10 SRT, which is just definitely the rarest amp in the room for sure. Maybe the rarest amp I've ever seen personally. It is an incredible amp that I sought for 4 or 5 years. I looked everywhere for them. I had saved searches on eBay, on Reverb, on Google. I would search weekly on just searching keywords. I messaged people on old forums based off of old posts from a decade ago, see if the owner still had them, if they want to sell them. I did everything. I'm not joking. To get one of those. If you don't know, it's a very obscure Vox amp, but it is incredible sounding. And if you know, sort of deal. It's now that I own one, I could say, again, does this live up to the hype? Had huge hype for me personally, huge expectations. It 100% does. It is an incredible amp that just has the sound of my AC30 Super Twin over my shoulder. It's my favorite amp of all time. It has that in a smaller package, just basically less volume. And it really is very, very similar in that regard. Maybe it's probably my second favorite amp to play, I would say, especially through that same Vox cab. It just sounds so good. So good. So that was a huge highlight for me. Lots of, all of these highlights have some little bumps to them, of course. So, that amp I purchased is the first amp I've ever purchased from a dealer. It was from Retro Fryette. Had some problems with them. I talked about it in the video series, but it is still, everything worked out in the end. And I'm really proud of the work I did to it too. That might be my favorite work I did for the year on an amp. Just all the right angles and stuff I did in it. It was just kind of really a labor of love. And I think it came out really good. So that's a huge highlight for 2024. Massive highlight for me. Other highlights, the Marshall 100 watt JMP 1972 hand wired. The chassis is actually behind the camera. Cabinets over there. And then I got two 412s. I bought the full stack from the original owner, which again is not something I ever expected to do, to own a full stack Marshall, a 100 watt Marshall. I wanted a Marshall eventually, and I looked for one, but I had to jump at the opportunity. That was a full on guitar safari. I talk about it again in the video series. Show up, the amp guy said the amp worked. Turn it on, nothing. He wouldn't let me open it up. He said he was going to charge me more money based off of whatever he saw on the inside. He drove a hard bargain. He was a tough guy. And I had to make the choice of, do I go home with my tail between my legs, or do I move forward and just risk it, gamble? I decided to risk it, and I'm so happy I did, because that amp, I think I had my best live tones ever with that amp, to be honest. And it is a monster of an amplifier. And again, all of this in 2024, insane. There's so much behind the scenes too with that, all the cabinet work and stuff I did, and the speakers that I didn't film. But more to come on that amp for sure in 2025. But yeah, huge highlight. And I think the only other amp acquisitions in 2024 would be the Drip Edge Super Reverb, just back there. And really the big highlight from that is not necessarily the amp itself, which is fantastic and so affordable. I made the video for that amp. I titled it The Best Amp You Can Buy Today, something like that. And I 100% stand by that. It turned out to be an amp a title in a video that drove a a lot of views and engagement, my most views ever on any video, over 100,000 views, if I remember correctly. And, you know, people wanting to fight with that premise. I don't think you can. I paid $1,200 for that, something like that. Those amps are, what amp can you get for $1,200 that punches above a super reverb? I mean, you can find amps that you might prefer more. You might like a gain sound or something, but from a Marshall or whatever. But I just think it's the most bang for the buck possible. Beautiful vintage amplifier, will last forever. You can work on it easily. Loud, good for any gig. Sounds great, quiet as well. But yeah, Super Reverb, 1968 Drip Edge Blackline. That was an awesome purchase for me in 2024. Not as cool as the other ones, but still very cool. And the last one would be this 1953 Gibson GA40 I purchased from the guitar show here in Southern California in Costa Mesa. That one was had some ups and downs as well. Let's say that. It was worked on by some very famous amp techs, including Skip Simmons. He was the last guy to work on it. And the amp kind of died on me, had some problems. Again, all in the series. And the amp is still not healthy. You guys haven't seen it on the channel. It's still in the same state it was before, really. It needs essentially a total rebuild, to be honest. So that's going to be a project for 2025 for sure. It's unfortunate. It's a bummer. I really like that amp, and I know it's going to be great, but it's just not there. It's not there right now. So yeah, those are kind of the acquisition highlights for 2024. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the Fryette Power Station PS100. That might be the best purchase of the year, to be honest. As far as a utility standpoint, that is a amazing piece of gear. Let me know if you guys want me to do a video on it, a dedicated video. I know other people have done it, but maybe you might be interested in my perspective, especially because I've done a lot with it, including gig it multiple times with vintage amps. So let me know. If not, no worries. But that piece of gear has been kind of the missing piece of the puzzle for me trying to work out these vintage amp rigs live, to be honest. Some of the amps, honestly, the problem isn't necessarily turning down because I play in a pretty loud band. The problem is more being able to get volume increases for solos, actually. And this is something I've been struggling with really since I started playing these vintage amps, especially things like my AC30 here, where they're turned up and they're really driving, compressing, sounding incredible. And I go for the solo and I have to have a huge volume jump for the solos in this band. And it doesn't matter what overdrive I put into it, tube screamer, whatever else, crank the volume all the way. I don't get enough volume boost. So the PS100 is a 2-channel attenuator or ramp, or I guess you would call it. And so I have the second channel as basically what the volume would be if the attenuator was not on at all. And that gives me the solo boost I need. It's also got an effects loop that works great. Just an amazing, amazing piece of gear. Does it sound exactly like the amp without the attenuator? No, it does not, but it sounds good enough and very, very close for me to be happy. So I think that's it for gear acquisition. So let's transition over to the tech world, amp tech stuff. My goodness, the tech stuff just kind of almost got out of hand in 2024. I can't believe how many amps I worked on, to be honest. Such a wide variety too. Now, you guys, I didn't upload everything onto the channel. I worked on some PCB amps for some friends and stuff like that, and some, old Rickenbacker and Magnetone and a few other things that were not featured anywhere. But in general, we worked on just the cream of the crop vintage stuff from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And it's not necessarily what I expected. I didn't expect to have so much opportunity to work on cool stuff, but there's a lot of local guys, and some of you guys that watch my videos sent me some amps. Thank you for that. Thank you for trusting me with your amps. And man, I learned so much this past year working on all of those amps, including my own, but just getting the experience, it just takes a lot of reps. And there's a lot of stuff I still need to learn theory-wise. There's a lot for me to learn still. I am by no means an expert. I try and make that clear. But regardless, I learned a ton, and I feel a lot more confident. I think my skills with the soldering iron and the technical skills are extremely high. And I think kind of my knowledge and experience for troubleshooting and figuring out how things, function and following issues, that's where I'm still growing at. But again, it's reps. I've only been doing amp tech stuff for literally, guys, a year and a half. So my Vibrolux Reverb was my first major project. That wasn't the old Magnetone kind of little thing. And that was, I think, a year and a half ago. So it's, it's not my full-time job either. Let's remember, this is all stuff I'm doing on the side, after hours, so to speak. So I'm really, really pleased with how far I came in 2024, and I'm looking forward to 2025. I do think I'm going to have to step back a little bit from taking in as many amps because I just worked on a ton. So what are some highlights for the amp tech stuff? I think the first one that comes to mind is the one that gave me some of the most trouble and was my first and only return of an amp. And that was the 1961 6G4A Super, the brown face Super. That amp, I was so proud of the work I did to that. I thought I'd spent so much time doing really clean work on it. It was all original when it came in. So it got the usual electrolytic cap swaps. The Astrons in it, I thought tested fine. I showed it on video. They tested okay. So I kept them in because, the owner was really prioritizing original, and I was not discouraging him from that. And the amp worked great. When I sent it back to him, I didn't have any problems with it. And almost immediately, there were some issues with it he was having. It was basically, if I remember correctly, all tube related in the beginning, and then it started a red plate. And I went, oh no. So long story short, he sent the amp back to me, and we discovered one of the trickiest issues I've ever run into. And I spoke to a lot of amp techs trying to get some guidance on how to approach this and figure out what's going on, because none of it was making sense. Again, I don't go in detail in the video series showing everything, all the steps there. But it ended up being the conductor or the board, the second board of the Fender in the chassis, the second fiber board, the lower one, was conductive in a critical spot over by the phase inverter where the coupling caps are and where the bias feed is. So it was throwing off the bias, but it took over an hour for it to really do anything. And yeah, it was just one of those that took so much work to fix, so much work to diagnose. So much money to ship it. It was a bit of a disaster, to be honest. But shout out to you, Scott, for being very patient with me. And if you watch this, and it was a good learning experience for me for sure. And that's, again, I was really proud of the work when I was all done with it as well. I did what I thought was very clean work, and very proud of how it was all done. Other amps I worked on that were really noteworthy for me, lots of Fenders, tons and tons of really cool Fenders, ranging from Princeton's. I worked on 3 Supers, Pro Reverbs, lots of cool stuff. Rickenbacker amps. I didn't show that on the channel, but yeah, just a wide variety of stuff. Some PCB amps too for friends. I think I mentioned that. So yeah, just amp tech wise, outside of my own amps, which obviously is a bit more diverse with the Vox stuff and the Marshall stuff, but in the Tweeds, the amp tech world is incredible. And I'm so appreciative. I want to give a shout out to a few people here that just really helped me a lot along the way. The first shout out I want to give to is Matt, who, friend of the channel. He comments frequently. He's on a lot of the other amp tech YouTube channels commenting as well. Sorry, Matt, I'm blanking on your username on YouTube, but he's gone above and beyond for me, very helpful, and he gave me a bunch of tools and things and parts for my amps, old vintage caps and whatnot. He has been so awesome. So thank you, Matt. Really, really appreciate you. The other people, Lyle, really early on helped me out a lot. Psionic Audio, very, very helpful and willing to talk to me on the phone, especially early on. Brad from Brad's Guitar Garage, again, great guy, very knowledgeable. Both very obviously, these are professionals. This is what they do. This is their livelihood, their profession. They've dedicated their lives to amp tech stuff, and it shows. And I really appreciate the guidance that they both gave me. And then other people that are local to me, Ross, Amp Monster over in Texas now. He was a local guy when I met him, and he gave me my signal generator and some parts for amps and taught me a lot as well whenever we got to connect. And then the last one I want to mention is Chris Marin. I'm sure there's more people I'm forgetting, but these are kind of the top people that really, really stepped up and went above and beyond for me. Chris Marin, he is a local guy, again, extremely knowledgeable, and yeah, just has taught me a lot and willing to listen to my absurd questions and not give me too much crap for it, which I appreciate, even though I often deserve it. And so, yeah, shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for helping me to kind of grow in this space. And I look forward to continuing to progress and get better at it. I definitely have a goal in 2025 of getting better, learning more, and continuing to improve. So, yeah, that's the amp tech stuff. And I guess the last thing I'll mention is the musician side of my life, which I don't really show on YouTube all that much. I've uploaded a few clips of me playing live with an artist, Sammy Listo. I've been playing with him for a couple years now. And huge shout out to you, Sammy, if you watch this. I don't think you will, but thank you, man. You're awesome. You're such a great guy. I'm really appreciative of you and feel very honored to know you and to be on stage with you. And so, yeah, playing live this past year, I probably played more in 2024 than maybe my entire life, I would say. And we just did a ton of huge gigs that were something that were kind of all bucket list for us local. I mean, I'm not doing stadiums. I'm not doing giant theaters or tours around the country or anything, guys. But still, for a local little group, we got to play some pretty cool gigs that were packed completely. And I got to play all of my vintage amps. And really, kind of complete the circle for me, right? So you got the amp tech world, you got just owning the vintage stuff, and you got playing the vintage stuff. And they all feed into each other. So if I wasn't able to play the amps live, I don't know if I would have as much desire to own them, because I think that's just what makes it so special, is learning the amp tech stuff to bring these amps back to life so that they can be utilized in a live situation just like they were intended. And they break down, you fix them, rinse, repeat. So being able to play them live has been a dream come true, frankly. And it's so rare to see vintage amps played live. Just doesn't really happen. I mean, everyone I know, I'm trying to think of, most people played, digital rigs. That's the most common for sure. And here I am with the freaking, 59 Bassman. I got a gig coming up. Guess what I'm using? Bassman and probably the AC30. So that's gonna be pretty special. Hopefully my playing will hold up to the quality of the tones, but that's an amazing thing to play live and to play those amps live. So yeah, we got to play some very cool gigs. My first travel gig, lots of cool stages and cool venues, and more to come in 2025 for sure. If you're in Southern California, make sure you follow Sammy Listo on Instagram. He shares, or follow me as well, both. Yeatsy Guitar on Instagram. He's Sammy Listo on Instagram, and we'll share the dates where we're playing if you want to stop by and just say hi and listen to some vintage amps, because I basically exclusively play the vintage amps live. So yeah, and I think that's it for 2024. I say that's it, in jest a little bit, because it's just amazing how much took place. I mean, so many things. I mean, we got to do some studio time as well in 2024. I didn't really mention that. Again, using some vintage amps, that's pretty special to me to be able to do that and play some vintage amps on recordings. So maybe more to come on that in 2025. We'll see. And the last thing I think I'll say, and I'll just close it off with this, is my personal life as well in 2024. My daughter, my first kid, she turned 1 in 2024, which was just amazing. And it's been such a journey being a father. So much to learn. Lots of ups and downs for sure. But then also in 2024, my wife and I are expecting our second. So she will be born in March. So just in a few months now. And that's a huge change for me and my family. And I am very appreciative of the place I'm in and my this time of my life, and being able to have all this stuff. It's not lost on me, and having the opportunity to play it live, having the opportunity to work on it, all of that is incredible. So, and actually here, you can let her out here. Come here, Zay. Come here. Right on cue. Come here. Lala. Yeah, there you go. All right, on that note, we're going to go ahead and end here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys had a great 2024, and I hope you all have a fantastic 2025. Until next time, see you guys.